Welcome to the Pot Live Podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and I can't believe it. We've already broken through 100 episodes. We want to thank you, the listeners, thousands of you that have sent beautiful comments, beautiful notes to us. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoy it. This next year, we're going to bring you the thought leaders, entertainers, trailblazers, CEOs of all the cannabis companies you want to hear from. People that are inventing new products, people that are bringing this cannabis industry to the mainstream. We are going to offer you education, value, and entertainment. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
Looking for the only one-stop online platform in the cannabis industry? Then you have to check out MJ.com. MJ has it all. The latest news and trends, exclusive original content such as the MJ CEO interview series featuring celebrities and business leaders, and best of all, delivery of your favorite cannabis products straight to your front door. That's right, MJ.com now offers statewide delivery of your favorite cannabis brands directly to your home or office in California. Check out MJ.com today.
And we are back. This is Lenny G, and on today's episode, we have Kelly Dooley. She is the owner and CEO of Canna Kingdom, a licensed cannabis distributor and manufacturing facility in Long Beach, California. She's got a cool background, great stuff going on. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you doing? Nice to meet you.
Awesome. Thanks for being on. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about where you came from? How'd you get into this industry?
Okay, well, I'm from California, but I lived on the East Coast for 15 years. I went to Boston University for undergrad. I got my BS in print journalism, and I then went to New York University for my master's in a program called Media Culture and Communication Studies. The amazing thing about it was that I was able to basically create my own master's, if you will, because I combined the communication prereqs with the business school, Stern. And so therefore, what I really created was a luxury marketing program. And I studied abroad in Paris and Switzerland and Beijing and all over the world for 7 different countries. So it was pretty incredible because I have a different perspective. So then once I graduated in 2008, I had some time off and I was training for a marathon. At the time, I was working for Equinox Fitness, and I was training for the marathon looking for a beautiful sports bra that had an iPod pocket or some sort of pocket that was my style but was functional, and I couldn't find anything. So then I later started a company called Body Rock Sport in 2010 and was really one of the innovators within the athleisure era, which, I was about 3 years ahead of the curve, I would say. So from there, that ended in 2014. It basically collapsed because I wasn't vertically integrated and I grew too fast, but I didn't have the infrastructure in place to grow with me. So then I went into what I call my Great Depression of 2014 and couldn't get out of bed for like 10 months. And then I moved back to California to be close to my mom back in June of 2015. And then I had a baby. Her name is Zoe. She's 4.5. She's like the love of my life. And then I got into the cannabis industry because I started working for a nutraceuticals company called Dr. Patchwell's. I was hired as their chief marketing officer, and the company launched in March of 2018. But then I ended up leaving the company in June there was a man that worked for that company that was not too nice to me. And so I left and started my own company called Zoe & Co., which is my daughter's name, Zoe, combined with Zen. And the tagline was where health is the truest wealth. And basically the objective was to create a platform that would enable transactions within the cannabis industry to take place that were safe and that upheld, integrity and professionalism, which was, an anomaly in the cannabis industry from what I had experienced thus far. The first few months was pretty insane. It felt like being initiated into a gang because all the things that you couldn't imagine happening happened. It was during the CBD isolate craze when CBD isolate was like 8,000 a kilo. And, there was a whole SOP of the COA and the POL and the POF and all that jazz. And then, you'd order the isolate and then you show up to the warehouse to pick it up and there'd be no isolate. So I was like, this is crazy. So I saw the white space in the industry just based on the fact that the industry is filled with what I call cannabis crustaceans. It's, people trying to get over on each other. And I knew that with my background, with my public profile, and with my area of expertise, which is luxury marketing, that I would be able to really make a ding in the industry because, I mean, there's literally no one else like me in this industry. So it's been pretty incredible. I bought Canna Kingdom in November of 2019. We opened in March of 2020. We've got our manufacturing license. It was originally type 7, but I switched it to a type 6 because I'm not doing type 7. And then we have our distribution license. And then I also just got a building across the alley from those two buildings that will be another distro called Kingdom without the vowels. And that's going to be our brand and event hub for fashion shows, culinary events, and so forth. And then we had our cultivation license, but I turned that in. And that is instead going to be our branding agency, which is called Lux Branding House, which is essentially a luxury cannabis branding company. And we offer everything from logo design to brand development to PR, marketing, celeb influencers, cultivation, genetics. Like it's essentially a full turnkey, but there's, certain requirements that must be met in order to become one of our clients. So it's been pretty incredible. I work, about 18 hours a day, but I'm not complaining. I love every minute of it. And it's exciting to be in a new industry. Really, it's like Oregon's Trail,
Wow, that's that's a lot to unpack. Wow, good for you. That's awesome, man. See, you might be the only person who talks faster than me, which is impressive.
Oh, yes, it's very fast. Sorry, I'll try to slow down a bit.
That's great. All right, so tell everyone, we have our listenership, if you will, is mixed, right? So we have newbies to the industry, we have business owners, we have people that have been in the cannabis world for decades and people that just getting into it or trying to learn about it. So what type of products does Canna Kingdom actually offer that are out there right now and what's coming in the near future? You mentioned a whole bunch of different brands, but kind of tell everybody exactly the type of products you're offering.
Okay, cool. So for the time being, our emphasis is bulk. So think of us as like a Costco, but, we're very particular about the products that we do in fact sell. So we've got top 10 strains, for example, that move the best for our demographic, such as Wedding Crasher, wedding cakes, gelato, anything OG. Everyone always says straight gas. So everyone always wants the gas, so we get all the gas and all the purple, like Granimals, ice cream cake, and so forth. So for the most part right now, we're selling bulk flower, crude, and category 3 distillate. Cat 3 distillate means it's clean, and in the state of California, that means that it passes testing for residual solvents, heavy metals, and pesticides. So, the vast majority of our Cat 3 distillate is 88% plus, which is, really what everyone wants, unless, the price is much lower. It needs to be reflected with the percentage. So beyond that, we've got 3 brands that are launching this year. The first one is called Bougie, and that is going to be a lifestyle exotics brand that is meant to be, it's meant to be elite snooty weed that's not accessible to everybody. That's the point. So it's not just about the flower, it's about the merchandise, it's the hoodies, it's the crowns and the accessories. It's a lifestyle. So one of my objectives in this industry is destigmatize cannabis, because I think that, from the beginning of time, really, at least since I've been alive, the stereotype when it comes to the average stoner is, some fat guy sitting on his couch, smoking a doobie and eating chips and being an idiot. And that's just not the case. I'm a very high performer and I smoke all day. I have severe ADHD and I smoke sativa. I know people say there's no such thing as sativa, whatever, but sativa dominant. So there's 3 strains that I smoke on the reg, and then there's strains that I avoid. Anything that's more of an indica dominant, I avoid. They call that indica couch. So, I don't like to be the stereotype. I like to be the opposite of that. So for me, it enables me to perform at a high level and be creative. So I think that, all of our brands reflect that. So, and also a lot of my brand ideas come when I'm high, of course. So the other brand that's next after that launching is called Queen Pin. Because the Queen is the most powerful player in the game. That will be launching on July 20th, which ironically is International Chess Day. And then the third brand that will be launching this year is called Stella et Luna, which is going to be an astrology THC line. So there'll be like the Leo strain, the Scorpio strain, and so on and so forth. So our niche is not for the bulk, but for our actual products that we're going to be manufacturing are more novelty products. So think there's going to be a huge emphasis on nanotechnology. So nano infused edibles. We've got shots coming out, kind of like a fireball shot, whiskey flavored, and so on. We have an incredible formulator on our team who's going to be heading our manufacturing The only reason that that is not yet done is because the city of Long Beach, unfortunately, takes forever. So while we have our state license and it's active, the city of Long Beach has held up our progress when it comes to manufacturing of our own products. So I'm hoping that, we'll be able to start, producing those items in the next 2 months or so, ideally, so that we can launch on time in July for Queen Pin. But the bougie launch is going to be primarily flower to begin with, but we're starting with clothing so that we can get it on the right celebs and influencers and then build the buzz from there.
Very exciting. So I want to ask a question you have a marketing background, and a lot of our brands or business partners and owners want to know, it's so difficult to market when everything's not federally legal using the traditional avenues. How are you planning, or how are you currently getting the word out about your brand on the cannabis products themselves?
Okay. So, Lux Branding House really is the panacea, if you will, for exactly the issue that you're describing. I think one of the primary mistakes that brands make when there's two actually. There's two mistakes that people make when they're trying to launch a brand in the cannabis industry. The first, which, although it's, kind of obvious, it may not be obvious to people who are not in cannabis, is the fact that, people come into the industry treating it like it's the gold rush and they want to make a lot of money. And so they just develop a brand, but it has no clear brand identity. There's nothing unique about it. And in an industry where there's a zillion cannabis brands, you have to be, the purple cow. I don't know if you've ever heard of Seth Godin, but he's one of my favorite marketing gurus. And he always says, be the purple cow. So when you're driving through, the meadow and you see all these cows, they're black and white, and, they all look the same after a while, maybe some with some polka dots or whatever, then you want to be the purple cow. You want to be the one that stands out. So all the brands that we create are purple cows. So that's the first thing. People don't have a very clear why when they get in the industry, so therefore they don't know how. And a lot of people come in the industry with a lot of money, and then they get steamrolled by the cannabis crustaceans, and then suddenly they're out of money, and they're like, oh God, what now? You could create the best brand in the world, but if you don't have a sales team and you don't have enough liquidity in order to progress and, I always say build obstacles into your business plan, then you're bound to fail. So, I expect problems every day, and I like to eat them for breakfast. So secondly, the next thing is the fact that a lot of these brands use cheesy branding that not only perpetuates the stereotypes that characterize the average stoner, but make it impossible to advertise across platforms. So with Lux Branding House, for example, one of our requirements is that none of the logos are to contain any sort of cannabis leaf or any sort of cannabis branding. So, we're positioned as, and frankly are, the LVMH of cannabis, the Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. So that's our positioning. So what that means is that it's not just about the flower. It's not just about the vapes. It's not just about the cannabis products. It's about the merch. It's about building a very loyal cult-like following, which is really that's definitely one of my areas of expertise, which can only be achieved when you're authentic. When you don't have to fake it, it's pretty easy to come up with a compelling brand. So I would say that those are the two main things when it comes to, or factors that influence and affect brands in this industry. You just have to get creative. So if you have, for example, let's say Kim Kardashian is wearing one of my bougie sweatshirts, which is, definitely on the horizon, then people are going to be like, oh, what's bougie? And then they're going to discover that, oh, as it turns out, we actually sell our brand actually has cannabis too. So, it's not just about the weed, it's about the lifestyle. So I think that is people who really have a goal to excel in this industry and to create a brand that is going to shake up the market need to follow the protocol that Lux Branding House is defined by.
Fantastic advice right there. I want to ask you from a female entrepreneur point of view, since there's so much press about that there's not enough female business owners in the industry, and I am the father of two young entrepreneur daughters, and so I watch them kind of go, up and down the roller coaster of trying to create things, and they're very young, and they learn from dad, of course, but they learn from people like you. I know your passion is promoting female-friendly products and just showing that you're as strong as anyone else can be. Can you tell a little bit about that journey and about your feelings on that?
Sure. My father passed away when I was 7 years old, and I was raised by my mom, and that certainly influences my perspective when it comes to how I was raised and to how I live my life, because I'm also a single mom. So with that being said, I think that one of the saddest things about being a single mom, if you're not the stereotypical single mom, just like not being the stereotypical stoner, is the fact that there's this victim mentality that a lot of women take on, which I think is in order to justify their own shortcomings. So it's the, oh, I'm a single mom. Oh, poor me. I don't have enough money. Oh, where? And it's just all these excuses. And that's all, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss, but it's all bullshit. I mean, frankly, it is, because my mom, she busted her arse ever since my father passed away. I mean, she was working, she was a labor and delivery nurse, and then she got another company that's wholesale swimming pool products. And I mean, she never complained. Yeah, was she tired? Yes. Did her back hurt? Yes. Okay, sure. But she never used that as an excuse to hold her back. So for me, it being in the cannabis industry, I work nonstop, and my daughter, Zoe, she appreciates it. I mean, she's 4.5 years old, and yeah, does she wish she had a little more time with mommy? Absolutely. But she also sees it firsthand, and she tells me all the time how much she loves me and how grateful she is for me. And she understands that, I need to work in order to afford her what she calls her target budge, short for budget. So I think it's really boils down to positive self-talk. And a lot of people feed themselves negative thoughts and, walk with fear rather than walking in faith. And I've always walked with faith in everything I do, because I don't, what others think about me is really none of my business. I only answer to God, and I only need validation from my Zozo and my mother. So, beyond that, I think that women need to, rather than being this, oh, I am woman, hear me roar, this whole fempowerment thing that gets taken to an extreme, it's really just about shedding themselves of this victim mindset, or that, oh, because I'm a woman, it's so much harder, or whatever. I look at, because I'm one of very few women in the industry, and there's no other women like me who have my background and my full profile, I look at it as an opportunity to be the purple cow. So, I mean, there's a lot of average looking guys in the industry. They're everywhere. I see them every day. So for me to be a woman in the industry, killing the game, who's from the fashion industry, who's highly educated, who's a single mom, it's, an anomaly. And it serves as an opportunity to inspire and empower others so that they can shed themselves of the negative mindsets that have held them back their entire lives, and decide to walk with conviction rather than, stumbling and, falling down and then using whatever their circumstances are to not get back up. You can always get back up. You just have to tell yourself that you can, and then you just keep going. I've done it my entire life.
I love the aggressive mindset. I think we may have been separated at birth.
When's your birthday?
October. Funny.
Libra?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'm a Leo. All my besties are Libra, so not surprised there.
That's funny. But yeah, like I said, my daughters are little entrepreneur killers, 19 and 16 years old. They have several businesses already, and they're crushing it, and I hope they can be as successful as you someday.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about California. You're based in California, and there's all this, I don't know if it's complaints are the right word, but about the high taxes on legal cannabis products, and that the black market's not going away, and a lot of shit's still going out the back door. So what are you seeing as far as in your area? Is it still a big problem for people to obtain cannabis legally? Are they still going to their old corner buddy, or is there a healthy mix now?
I would say there's a healthy mix, but I would say the primary reason for that, that yes, the taxation is certainly a problem. When you think of a dispensary, for example, the tax in a dispensary is absolutely insane. It's crazy. I mean, sometimes like over 20% sales tax. Like, why? Why aren't they taxing Xanax like that? Xanax kills you, and all those, big pharma meds kill you, but cannabis doesn't kill anyone. So there's that. But the other thing is simply, I believe, the disconnect between the different departments. So the city of Long Beach versus the BCC versus the CDPH, for example. So in 2020, when COVID hit, CDPH, which is the public health department, they decided to pull all these people from cannabis and stick them on the COVID side. There's not enough employees. I mean, just getting a hold of someone is challenging. And most, government employees, not to, talk shit, but they're like DMV people. They get off at 4 and then they don't care what happens after 4. They're just doing a job, clock in, clock out. Mm-hmm. I'm just a number, Meanwhile, millions of dollars get spent and wasted. And if, we fail an inspection, like we failed an inspection last month because I didn't have a paper towel holder in the dry room, which is where weed is trimmed and stuff like that. We didn't have a paper towel holder in there, so they failed me. Meanwhile, our rent per month is $40,000 a month. So then you think of the burn rate. And so a paper towel holder, you're going to let that hold up my progress as a female entrepreneur. To me, it doesn't make sense. So until those issues are resolved, I mean, supposedly Newsom, who, is, I think, the worst person in the state of California, supposedly he is, rectifying the situation by getting rid of all these different departments and making it one. But I don't know if that will solve anything, because it's just a lack of productivity, a lack of communication, and a lack of interpersonal communication between the different departments, which thereby holds up and inhibits progress in the industry, and people run out of money. The way I ended up with these licenses is because the man that I bought the licenses from ran out of money. And, it was well known that I'd be the only one that would be able to resolve the issue for him. So I think that I don't see the black market going away anytime soon until the inherent problems that are built into this very faulty infrastructure of California cannabis law is fixed. And, a lot of people have asked me, oh, when Biden goes into office, or, oh, when, if Trump wins, or what, none of that really matters, because it's federally illegal still. I believe it will be for 3 to 5 years, which is, when I want to be out of the industry anyways, then I'm going to be on to my next venture. But with that being said, the president, it doesn't really matter who the president is. Like, I got asked a couple weeks ago, my publicist wanted me to do an article for the New York Times about Biden in office and what publicly traded cannabis companies I would invest in. And I declined the interview because I wouldn't invest in any of them. And the reason I wouldn't invest in any of them is because I know all the malarkey that happens behind the scenes, and what these companies do in order to fluff their numbers, in order to go public, because I've been a victim to 2 different companies that have tried to do that. So I just think that there's a lot of ignorance, not only on behalf of on the part of the consumers in the industry, but also the people writing the law. I mean, maybe they're stoned when they're writing the law. Definitely not sativa. They're definitely not on that indica, because the law is not logical, and it hurts cultivators. I mean, there's so many cultivators that are suffering right now who are licensed cultivators. If you think of the regulations when it comes to category 3 testing, for example, I mean, why is it that a tomato has more lax testing than cannabis? There's just as much pesticides in any produce that you see at the grocery store. It's just as dirty as the dirtiest weed that exists. So why is it that the cannabis industry is held to such a higher standard when General Mills cereal is filled with ingredients that kill people constantly? You know what I mean? So I think it's just it's unfair, and I would love for everything to be white market, and I hope that that does happen in the future. But the state is at fault for making that impossible.
Yeah, you bring up a lot of good points, and just think about even multi-state operators, right? Since everything's federally illegal, and every municipality, every city, every state has a different rule or law or license and regulations, it's almost impossible to expand a brand, right? So in California, you can get a delivery license, a distribution license, a grow license. In Florida, it has to be a vertical license the whole way through from seed to sale. So if you're in one state and you want to expand to another state, you have to have a completely different, a whole team that is completely different of attorneys, regulators, everything. And it's really hindering brands like yourself or any brand from really trying to scale before the big boys jump in, right? So when everything goes legal and all of a sudden there's Amazon weed and Uber weed and Walmart weed, you know what I mean, that are going to blow out a lot of little guys, they're really hindering everyone from having a chance to compete while they're in early. And that's
their plan. That's the point. I mean, that I'm glad you said that, because that's a really, really valid point. So I mean, for what I would do if a brand is trying to be an MSO, is the D8 is to create products that contain D8, because it's still going to make you high. And there's a lot more flexibility when it comes to distribution. I mean, there's D8 products in smoke shops right now and stuff like that, and corner stores.
They fall under the hemp rules, right?
Yes, exactly. So there's, that's a benefit, but that's exactly why I want to be out of the industry in 3 to 5 years, because that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to fully commoditize. And then, Walmart, like you said, and Uber and Amazon, they're all going to have weed. And then the key for women like myself in this industry is to create brands that have a valuation that are incalculable based on, creating a cult-like following and so on. And then also data aggregation, which can be achieved through delivery services and so on. And then, of course, land acquisition, because all these big companies, they're going to want to buy all the land and all the data. So that's what I'm doing right now, is both land, data, brands.
Perfect. I love it. All right. So where can everybody find more information about your company or contact your team?
So our website, we're just waiting for our photography, which is our shoot is February 6th. Our website will be launching the second week of February or third week of February. It's just canna-kingdom.com. And then my Instagram is Queen of the Kingdom with no vowels. That is my new business one. My personal is the Nomad Fashionista. And, I post pretty much everything about cannabis and my company and just, mom life. I have my personal Instagram primarily to serve as inspiration for other women and little girls who have been following me, because I used to be a reality TV star when I was in fashion. So there's a lot of people who look to me for just that. But then also I'm a domestic violence advocate and a suicide prevention advocate. So I help a lot of people through Instagram when it comes to both of those terrible issues that we face in society.
All right. Before we let you go, Kelly, one question, and we probably already hit on it, but we'll try it again. Give me one thing that concerns you about the overall industry and one thing that excites you.
One thing that excites me is the fact that, like I said, it is like Oregon's Trail. This is a new industry and we are paving the way. So that's exciting for me because I love innovation and I love collaboration and it's fun. It's awesome. I love it. I love every minute of it. Even when the most devastating blows occur, I still love it. One of the things that concerns me, I would say, is the fact that a lot of people who come in from the corporate world, like say, your typical douchebag from Wall Street. I lived in New York City for 10 years, so I can say that with, conviction.
I grew up there and I can agree with you.
Yeah, it's bad. So these guys come in and I would never slander anyone on a podcast, but I could name about 10 people off the top of my head that fit that profile in the cannabis industry. And the problem is that they come into this industry thinking that they can treat it like any other industry. Like, no, this is not Kleenex, sweetheart. So the problem with that is that they think that, they don't understand, they don't understand that this is an industry that was in fact created in an illegal format, which means that you have to be able to adapt and be dynamic to the people who are truly running the industry. So, what that means is the street code. So it's all about respect when it comes to street code, and it's about power. And a lot of these Wall Street guys, they have zero respect. They're condescending bastards and they mistreat people and they think that they're better than everyone, and they're not. They don't know what they're talking about. I was in a meeting with a company in December that, I was potentially going to merge with, but it turned out that, I was what I thought they were. So I backed out of that. But the owner of the company, 62 years old, very successful man from New York City. He's built many successful companies, but he didn't know the difference between 90% Cat 3 distillate and 80% Cat 3 distillate, which is a difference of about $1,200 a liter pre-tax. So if you go into the industry and you want to make a lot of money, you need to respect the code. It's all about respect and power. And you also need to actually understand the industry. You need to learn it, memorize it, like come up with a lexicon of all the different terms that define what legal cannabis is. The number of people who don't know what a COA is or what Cat 3 means is beyond my comprehension. So you can't expect to be balling out of your mind in your Bugatti and all this stuff and then win in the long run if you don't respect the industry and the inner workings and what these products are. I know what everything is. I have a photographic memory. That's the first thing I did when I got in the industry was I learned everything so that I don't sound like a moron when I'm talking to people about the industry, so that I know what I'm selling. So I know what I'm buying. So it minimizes the amount of con artistry in the industry. Like a few months ago, there was this D8 was flooding the market. I mean, it was really bad. We bought like 150 liters of what was supposed to be Cat 3. And it ended up being D8. And then where's the supplier? Gone, of course. So, I think that people just from the corporate side who come into the industry wanting to make moves need to, be dynamic, respect the game, have respect for the people who actually are moving all the product. And from there, if they really want to, truly be successful, not by doing fraudulent stuff and fluffing their numbers for some IPO that's based on a bunch of BS. If they really want to win, that's what they have to do.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, she brought the heat. She dropped value bombs. Miss Kelly Dooley, owner and CEO of Canna Kingdom, thank you so much for being our guest today.
You're so welcome. It's so funny because I always say truth bomb.
That was awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Everybody
Thank you.
check out Canna Kingdom, and we will see you next time on the Pot Live Podcast. If you are into the recreational side of the cannabis industry, yes, stoners, I'm talking to you, then thepot.com is the online and mobile destination for you. That's right, THEPOT.com, thepot.com. Where else can you find the exclusive Pot Mate of the Month? Take a pot quiz and win prizes. Scroll through hilarious memes and jokes and check out the latest podcasts, news, and trends, all while having your own profile and voice in the pot.com forum. Visit thepot.com today and get lit.